Hey everybody, so today we're going to go into the history and the destruction of Bel and the dragon. This was supposedly toward the end of Daniel. This was going to be chapter 14 of Daniel, and it usually is in the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic traditions. This is a part of their deuterocanonical Gospels. However, Protestantism, for whatever reason, left it off. And so we are going to read it in the 1611 King James Version style of this, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it might mean in relation to end times events, or also what it means maybe possibly just as from a physical standpoint. And so we'll talk about it. Here we go. And King Astyages was gathered to his fathers, and Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom. So we see this transitioning of power. Astyages leaves, and then we have Cyrus, who is set up into what is modern-day Iran, but back then it was called Persia. Verse 2, and Daniel conversed with the king and was honored above all his friends. Now the Babylonians had an idol that was called Bel, and there were spent upon him every day 12 great measures of fine flour, and 40 sheep and 6 vessels of wine. So essentially what these people were doing is they were offering this peace offering, this food offering to this idol. Verse 4, and the king worshipped it, and went daily to adore it, but Daniel worshipped his own God. And the king said unto him, why doest not thou worship Bel? Who answered and said, because I may not worship idols made with hands, but the living God who hath created the heaven and the earth, and hath sovereignty over all flesh. Then said the king unto him, thinkest thou not that Bel is a living God? Seest thou not how much he eateth and drinketh every day? Then Daniel smiled and said, O king, be not deceived, for this is but clay within, and brass without, and did never eat or drink anything. So already Daniel's like, nah man, my God is higher than this idol. He's not eating anything. He doesn't have to drink anything. He always is, was, and always will be. Verse 8, so the king was wroth, and called for his priests, and saith unto them, if ye tell me not who this is that devoureth these expenses, ye shall die. But if ye can certify me that Bel devoureth them, then Daniel shall die. For he hath spoken blasphemy against the god Bel. And Daniel said unto the king, let it be according to thy word. Now the priests of Bel were 70, beside their wives and children. And the king went with Daniel into the temple of Bel. All right, so now they're trying to put up this test. Verse 11, so Bel's priests said, lo, we go out, but thou, O king, set on the meat, and make ready the wine, and shut the door fast, and seal it with thine own signet. And tomorrow, when thou comest in, if thou findest not that Bel hath eaten up all, we will suffer death, or else Daniel, that speaketh falsely against us. And they little regarded it, for under the table they had made a privy entrance, whereby they entered in continually and consumed these things. So when they were gone forth, the king set meats before Bel. Now Daniel had commanded his servants to bring ashes, and those they strewed throughout all the temple, in the presence of the king alone. Then went they out and shut the door and sealed it with the king's signet, and so departed. Now in the night came the priests with their wives and children, as they were wont to do, and did eat and drink up all. In the morning betime the king arose, and Daniel with him. And the king said, Daniel, are the seals whole? And he said, yes, O king, they be whole. And as soon as he had opened the door, the king looked upon the table and cried with a loud voice, Great art thou, O Bel, and with thee is no deceit at all. Then laughed Daniel, ha ha ha, and held the king that he should not go in. He said, No, hold on. And said, Behold, now the pavement, and mark well those footsteps are these. Mark well whose footsteps are these. And the king said, I see the footsteps of men, women, and children. And then the king was angry, and took the priests with their wives and children, who shewed him the privy doors, where they came in, and consumed such things as were up on the table. Therefore the king slew them, and delivered Bel into Daniel's power, who destroyed him and his temple. And in that same place there was a great dragon, which they of Babylon worshipped. And the king said unto Daniel, Wilt thou also say that this is of brass? Lo, he liveth, he eateth, and drinketh. Thou canst not say that he is no living God, therefore worship him. Then said Daniel unto the king, I will worship the Lord my God, for he is the living God. But give me leave, O king, and I shall slay this dragon without a sword or a staff. The king said, I give thee leave. So, man, Daniel is the knight of knights, right? He doesn't even need a sword or a staff to slay this dragon. He can just do it by other means. Verse 27, Then Daniel took pitch, fat, and hair, and did seethe them together, and made lumps thereof. This he put in the dragon's mouth, and so the dragon burst in sunder. And Daniel said, Lo, these are the gods you worship. When they of Babylon heard that, they took great indignation, and conspired against the king, saying, The king is become a Jew, and he hath destroyed Bel, he hath slain the dragon, and put the priests to death. So they came to the king, and said, Deliver us Daniel, or else we will destroy thee and thine house. Now when the king saw that they pressed him sore, being constrained, he delivered Daniel unto them, who cast him into the lion's den, where he was 6 days. And in the den there were 7 lions, and they had given them every day 2 carcasses and 2 sheep, which then were not given to them, to the intent they might devour Daniel. So in essence, they put 2 carcasses in there and these 2 sheep. Now there was in Juri a prophet called Habakkuk, who had made pottage, and had broken bread in a bowl, and was going into the field for to bring it to the reapers. But the angel of the Lord said unto Habakkuk, Go carry the dinner that thou hast into Babylon unto Daniel, who is in the lion's den. And Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon, neither do I know where the den is. Then the angel of the Lord took him by the crown, and bare him by the hair of his head, and through the vehemency of his spirit set him in Babylon over the den. And Habakkuk cried, saying, O Daniel, Daniel, take the dinner which God hath sent thee. And Daniel said, Thou hast remembered me, O God, neither hast thou forsaken them that seek thee and love thee. So Daniel arose and did eat, and the angel of the Lord set Habakkuk in his own place again immediately. Upon the 7th day the king went to bewail Daniel, and when he came to the den, he looked in, and behold, Daniel was sitting. Then cried the king with a loud voice, saying, Great art thou, O Lord, God of Daniel, and there is none other besides thee. And he drew him out, and cast those that were the cause of his destruction into the den, and they were devoured in a moment before his face. Okay, so we have multiple characters in here. We've got Daniel, of course. We got the king, who is kind of personifying the culmination of the egoic trap, right? He believes in this I-ness, and that the identity of his core believing structure, his believing structure, are in these idols, right? Like Bel. Like, once Bel was gone, he had to transition it to the serpent. He couldn't believe in the same God that Daniel had, because that would make him a Jew. He was a Babylonian. How could he accept the same faith? So that's the egoic trap. And then you have Daniel, who has the living God, right? He has the fire of the Holy Spirit in him, and so this translates to a spiritual difference. He's more heightened. He's more hyper aware of his belief because it's beyond him. And we have also these conspiratorial priests and the people that come in and eat the food and the meat that was out there. And it's kind of funny because, it's a little story about how they were mischievously causing people to believe in these gods and goddesses. And even they had known that these things were false because it was them who were, eating the food. So obviously it wasn't a true God. So that's kind of like the psychological or the alchemical interpretation of it, the esoteric side of it. And the eschatological side of it shows us that Bel is kind of like the false prophet that is to come in the end times, that will be taken away. And then we have the dragon, right? The great dragon, which is also referenced in Revelation. I think it's either 12 or 22. I'm not really sure which chapter that's in. But the dragon represents the culmination of technological idolatry, or technological and digital idolatry. And we're seeing how the dragon will be slain in the end. And so it's interesting to extrapolate that from an apocryphal work which goes back to Daniel, even though it's not considered a part of the Protestant doctrines. This is found again in the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic Deuteronomical Gospels. And so I hope this kind of made you ask a few more questions. The question I have is, how in the world did the angel of the Lord pick him up by his hair and take him all the way to Babylon and just kind of, here you go, put you in the den? Also, it's not really much of a question, but this was the second time that Daniel got thrown into the lion's den. So Daniel twice got thrown into this den of lions. And this once again, if you're looking at it from an alchemical lens, this is the purification of one of the substances, right? The philosopher's stone, going through another round of purification as well, before being the true stone. We know the true stone is Jesus Christ, and that's what we can interpret it as. And so I will leave that with y'all, and with the next thing that we're going to look at is the prayer of Manasseh, king of Judah, when he was holden captive in Babylon. Once again, this was supposed to be part of Daniel, but was not included. So we're going to read that in the apocryphal text, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye for now.